Let's talk about legal research. I know, it sounds super formal, maybe a little intimidating, right? Like something for lawyers in old, dusty libraries. But what if I told you it's actually the engine that shapes the laws you live by every single day? Stick with me, and we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify how it all works.
So, before we even get to the legal part, let's back up. Let's ask a really basic question. What even is research? I mean, we use that word for everything, from Googling the best pizza place to writing a dissertation. But to really get this, we need a much sharper definition. You see, for a lot of us, research just means gathering a bunch of information, kind of like collecting puzzle pieces and throwing them in a box. But that's not the full picture, not even close. Real research isn't just about having the pieces, it's about actually putting them together to see what they create.
Okay, so here's the formal definition, but let's break it down. The magic words here are what really matter. It's not just collection, it's collation, which means organizing everything, and interpretation, figuring out what it all means. And the most important part? It has to follow a system and have a clear purpose. Just randomly finding facts isn't research. It needs structure. It needs a goal.
So think of it like you're building something. Your methodology, that's your blueprint. The purpose, well, that's the thing you're trying to build. The analysis is the actual construction work, where you create something new. And the literature review, that's like checking out the other buildings in the neighborhood first, so you're not just building the exact same things someone else already did. You need all four of these for it to be legit research.
All right, we've got a solid foundation now, so let's get specific. What happens when we take this whole idea of research and drop it into the world of law? What's the secret ingredient that turns regular research into legal research? And here we go. This slide nails it. The absolute key phrase here is within an identified legal system. See, legal research isn't about some abstract idea of what's fair. It's about finding the actual rules that apply in a specific place to solve a real problem or to just get a better handle on how those rules work.
So, what kind of questions are we trying to answer here? Well, it could be something super practical, like, can my landlord in Texas legally do this? Or it could be way more philosophical, like, are the current eviction laws in Texas actually serving justice? Or are they totally outdated for today's world? It covers a huge range.
And this is so important. It's why legal research is almost always tied to a specific place, what lawyers call it jurisdiction. Law isn't some universal constant. It changes, like, a lot, depending on if a country has a presidential or parliamentary system, if it's federal or unitary. The exact same question can get a completely different answer in Canada than it would in Australia.
Okay, so how do legal pros actually pull all this off? Well, it turns out they've got a toolkit with 4 main methods they can use. So let's open up this toolkit and take a look at what's inside.
Inside the kit, we find these 4 distinct tools. Think of it this way. We've got a magnifying glass for getting a close-up view of the law as it is, an architect's blueprint for designing better laws, and then a couple of tools for digging into the deep history and philosophy behind it all. Let's start with that first one, doctrinal research.
First up is doctrinal research. I love this analogy. Think of it as the magnifying glass approach. It's all about looking really closely at the law exactly as it's written down on paper.
This is that classic lawyer in a library image we all have. It's sometimes called black letter research because it focuses strictly on the black letters on the white page, the text of statutes, court decisions, and core legal principles. The whole point is to understand the law from the inside out without bringing in any external stuff like sociology or economics.
Now, the huge strength of this method is that it creates consistency and makes the law predictable. But its biggest limitation is kind of baked right into its design. By only looking at the text, it can be completely blind to what's happening in the real world, sometimes leading to decisions that are totally out of step with society.
So, what happens when the law is completely out of touch? Well, that's where our second tool comes in handy. Reform-oriented research. This isn't a magnifying glass. This is more like an architect's blueprint for actually building a better law. This type of research literally steps outside the library. It asks the big question, is this law actually working for people? It uses data from the real world, hard numbers, studies, comparisons to other countries, to find the gaps and then recommend specific, concrete changes. The upside here is massive. It helps keep the law modern and actually relevant to our lives. The risk, though? Well, if you're not careful, it can lead to constant, messy changes. Or you might create weird inconsistencies by relying too much on data that doesn't quite fit with the legal system. It's a balancing act.
Okay, so our first 2 tools were all about what the law is right now and how it could be better. Our last 2 tools in the kit, these are for the big picture thinkers.
They ask why the law is the way it is in the first place.
This table breaks it down perfectly. Theoretical research is basically the philosopher's tool. It asks, why? Why do we have these rules? What does a concept like justice even mean? And then fundamental research, that's the historian's tool. It's like legal archaeology, digging into a law's origins just for the sake of understanding where it came from.
Now, sure, there are other names for research out there, but they usually just describe how you collect the data, not the overall goal. The most important thing to take away from all this is simple. You can't build a house with just a hammer. Choosing the right research tool for the right job is everything. It's the difference between a weak argument and one that could actually change the world.
So, when you put it all together, you see that legal research isn't just one thing. It's a really structured process with a full toolkit at its disposal. And it becomes pretty clear that whether you're analyzing a single word in a document or debating huge philosophical ideas,
The entire point is to make sense of this incredibly complex web of rules that kind of holds our society together.
which really makes you wonder, maybe the most powerful tool in the entire legal toolkit isn't a method at all,
but simply the ability to ask the right one. Because when you think about it, every single law we have started with someone, somewhere, asking a question.
If you enjoy this content, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button to show your support. And share this with your friends to spread the love. Together, we can grow this amazing community. Your engagement means the world to us.